And welcome back to Metropole Sports Center. My name is Nashon Owano. Just before we get into the topic of conversation, that is the Euro finals that are expected to be played this coming weekend, where England is going to be squaring it out against the Italian side. The following are just some of the things that you need to understand about the Euro competition with relation to money in our segment of Money Ref. And the following are just some of the numbers that you need to understand about the Euro competition. Now, the total prize money that is expected to be shared amongst all the teams in the competition is 456 million euros. Now, for teams that had qualified for the tournament, they're expected to be given 9.25 million euros. Now, for teams that reached the group stage of the competition, they were expected to get 1.5 million euros per win and 750,000 euros in every draw that they got in the group stage. The round of 16 the teams that reached that particular part of the competition, they're expected to be taking home 2 million euros. For the quarterfinals, teams are expected to take 3.25 million euros. This is expected to be shared amongst all the 8 teams. Now, in the semifinals, teams are expected to take 5 million euros, and in the runners-up of the competition is supposed to be taking home 7.7 million euros, I beg your pardon, and the winners of the competition are expected to take home 10 million euros. By the end of this weekend, we are going to be knowing whether Italy is going to be taking this money or it's England that is going to be taking 7 million euros home. Sticking to matters Euros, I'm joined in studio by our resident analyst, that is Ian Keitany, to make sense of the Euro games that took place this past week. Ian Keitany, it's always a nice time having you on the show.
It's always a pleasure being here, Nation.
I think at this time, I usually joke with people who come here frequently that at this point in time, we might as well set a corner office for you because you become a resident of the show. Keitany, a lot of action in the Euros this past week. Spain out of the competition, Denmark out of the competition. The final has been set, Italy versus England. Before we get to talk about the Italian squad and the England squad, just wanted to get your reflections on the game between Italy and Spain and what you made of that particular game.
Basically, it was a very, very entertaining match because, both sides are heavyweights on the international scene. We expected Spain to, of course, dominate possession, dominate the game, in as much as we were used to, Italy from the group stages, running the show. But in this particular game, Spain did run the show. They possessed the ball very, very much, but they did not get an opportunity to, slot the ball past Donnarumma until the 80th minute when Morata came off the bench to equalize for them. But in the run-up to the game, Spain did possess the ball, but Italy did hit them on the counter-attack, and Federico Chiesa was very, very clinical in front of goal. He managed to curl the ball pass to Unai Simon, who was just watching. He had nothing much to do, but I do believe it was a very, very entertaining game. Morata was reduced from being the hero to 0 because he scored the equalizer to ensure that Spain did take the match to extra time, but again he lost the penalty. So it was a game full of mixed reactions for Morata, especially because he was not confident enough to slot the ball past Donnarumma, who was keen enough and sharp enough to ensure that he saved that particular penalty. But all in all, the game was a very, very good game. It was people expected Italy to win the game very, very easily, but it was not the case because they had to struggle to win the game on post-match penalties. And of course, it will be a very, very entertaining game to see them in the finals.
Okay. Just from the word go, Italy have not received the attention that they are now getting in the finals of this competition. I remember when the competition was starting and we were talking with you, the teams that were favorites we had the likes of France, who were considered favorites. Do you think England has a reason to be afraid at the finals?
I believe yes, they do have a reason to be afraid because Italy do look. Actually, Italy are one of the best teams so far so good in the Euros. I remember when we were here talking about the teams when the Euros started. We talked about France, Portugal, and all those big teams to be in the finals. But I remember specifically saying I'll give Germany and Italy the benefit of doubt. And of course, they've proved me right because they're into the finals. So many people drew them out because, first of all, they did not qualify for the 2018 World Cup. And they've been trying to rebuild. And I do believe they've been a surprise package and they will give England a run for their own money.
Okay. Speaking of England, the England versus Denmark had its own fair share of drama. The penalty. Pundits and most people are saying that penalty should not have been awarded to the England side. Do you agree with those sentiments?
I do agree with them 100% because I do believe Sterling dived, but the on-field referee saw otherwise. What is so concerning to me, or what is disturbing me the most, is the fact that that penalty was checked by the VR officials, and okay, it is very rare for the VR officials to overturn the on-field referee's decision, but at least they would have told the referee to go and check on the monitor, because to me it was a very, very clear and obvious error for the referee to award that as a penalty. And you've had people like former Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger saying that that was never a penalty. Gary Neville himself, the former English defender, saying that can never be a penalty in a million years. But of course he doesn't care because the England team are in the final. So I do believe the referee, he made his decision, but I do believe the VR officials did let the referee down because that was never a penalty.
Okay, let's talk about the Denmark side. They showed a lot of impetus at the beginning of the game. They were really threatening, scored courtesy of a free kick. But at the end of it all, they didn't win that particular game. I just wanted to get your take on the Eriksen factor in that particular squad. Do you think that if Christian Eriksen would have been in that squad, then things would have been a bit different?
I do believe so because, firstly, people are talking about the incident where, Christian Eriksen collapsed. People are talking about the emotions that it came with it, and that is what has carried Denmark to the semi-finals. But I do believe this is a team that is full of quality, and if Christian Eriksen, of course, was there, it would be a very, very different team. But all in all, this is a team that has very, very high-quality players who ply their trade across Europe. You saw the free kick against England by Mikkel Damsgaard. He's just a 21-year-old playing for Sampdoria, I believe. And they do have players who have played in the biggest stages. They do have players like Højbjerg. They do have players like Delaney, who plays for Dortmund. Kasper Schmeichel himself is, I do believe, to me, he's one of the goalkeepers to look out, who's been one of the people who've been in the players of the tournament because he's been so outstanding. So I do believe they had the quality to be there, and of course they lost in a manner which I do believe was not fair enough to them. But still, this is a side that can pull surprises even going forward to the World Cup in 2022, because if you look at that squad, most of them are young, the likes of Poulsen, Dolberg. They do have defenders like Vestergaard. So to me, Christensen, they're a good side, and they did pull us up. It was not much of a surprise, but having in mind that they lost their first two games in the group stages, they just won the game against Russia to qualify, but they did well. So to me, it was a good performance. But if Eriksen was there, of course, it would be a very, very different side.
Okay. We were talking with you about the investigation that UEFA is launching against the misconduct of a fan of England who was shining laser into the eyes of Kasper Schmeichel. Do you think much can be done about that in terms of scores or anything?
I don't think much can be done. It has, it happened. But the only thing that can be done for now is that UEFA needs to be, strict enough, because such cases from the fans, the England fans have been sort of a bit rowdy, and I do believe action needs to be taken. But in terms of the scores of the results, nothing much can be done. But let's see what UEFA can do to because they've pressed disciplinary charges against the FA, so nothing much can be done about the results of the scores. Okay.
The final game of the Euro, that is Italy versus England, is going to be played this weekend. We are going to be knowing who's going to be carrying this year's trophy. Big thing that maybe we need to talk about is the composition of the respective side. Let's start with the England side. Do you think they have the horsepower to go through to carry on the trophy for this year?
First and foremost, they do have the home advantage because the finals is being played in Wembley, the iconic Wembley Stadium, with over 66,000 fans. I do believe the home fans will be at least 40,000 or so. So they do have the home advantage. They do have the quality to, of course, bring the trophy home, because I do believe this is their first ever European Championship final. And of course, players like Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling to me has been one of the most important players in the English team, as much as all the praise has been given to Harry Kane, but Sterling has been the key man for this team. Of course, if you look at the English team, the game against Denmark, the bench, the players who are on the bench, the likes of Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Jack Grealish, these are players of high quality. So England do have the attacking prowess, the attacking quality to hurt Italy, and I do believe they do have what it takes, but it won't be a very easy match for them, because again, if you look at Italy, they are very good side defensively. But just to stick with England, the middle of the park, they do play with two defensive midfielders, Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice. They've been instrumental, and again, the defensive side, the four defenders from the city of Manchester, because John Stones and Kyle Walker do play for Manchester City, and Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw do play for Manchester United. They've been so instrumental. They've kept 5 clean sheets. But in the game against Denmark, they looked like there was some sort of chaos in that defense, especially when the Damsgaard scored the goal. So there have been questions about, Jordan Pickford, because at times it's been quite uneasy, but I do believe they do have what it takes to take on Italy.
Okay. Looking at that particular game, England versus Denmark, as an Arsenal fan, I was really impressed by the performance of Saka. By the back of my mind, I'm like, why don't we bring this exemplary performance in the club that is Arsenal? Maybe let's talk a bit briefly about the performance of Saka in that particular game.
Bukayo Saka is one exciting player, one exciting talent. You've talked about him not, bringing the same performance at Arsenal.
Yeah.
The problem is not Saka. The problem is Arsenal. Arsenal is they're just mid-table stragglers. To be clear on that. But it's been quite immense for the English side through the tournament. Bukayo Saka is one youngster who I do believe, it's hard to place the likes of Sancho on the bench, the likes of Rashford. He has the capability, he has the prowess to, propel this team to, win the Euros. But I do believe in the game against Italy, Southgate will have to, try another strategy, because we do know the compactness of the Italian defense, because Saka is a player who can defend and attack at the same time. That is why he's been starting these games. Yeah. Because if you look at players like Jadon Sancho, they do offer a lot on the attacking side of the game, but defensively, it is quite difficult for them to fall back. And Saka can offer both. He can defend, he can be in the middle of the park, he can drive the ball. He has very a good vision. He can pass the ball very well. And on the attacking side, is one sensational player. He created the goal that Denmark's captain scored an own goal, and I do believe that is the reason as to why he's been starting. And if he can replicate the same performance next season at Arsenal, and Arsenal do fail to put in a good performance and probably come back into the top 4, I'm certain the big teams in Europe will be coming for his signature, because he's quite a phenomenal player. Okay.
Shifting gears away from the England squad, let's talk about the Italian squad and why they present why they might present a challenge to the England side. Let's talk about the composition of the squad. The squad is composed of young players and experienced players that have been part of the competition for the longest time. From where you stand, where do you think this particular game might be won at?
This particular game will be won, I do believe, in the middle of the park, because if you look at the defensive side of Italy, they are very good defensive side. The same with England, they do have quality players in the defensive side. But now in the middle of the park, like I've said before, England have been playing with 2 defensive midfielders in Calvin Phillips and Declan Rice, and they've been sensational for the English side. But where the problem arises is that in the midfield part of the Italian side, the Azzurris, they do have quality players. Jorginho plays for Chelsea, is a very good midfielder, and there's a Verratti, of course. Verratti is a very experienced midfielder who can make things happen for Italy. So I do believe this game will be won by who will dominate the midfielder, will control the tempo of this particular game, because England, to me, I don't understand why Southgate has to play with two defensive midfielders and no attacking midfielder, and that is where I do believe Italy can hurt them by if they can control the tempo of the game. They do have the attack, their players in attack who can hurt England real time, because if you look at Lorenzo Insigne, the likes of Ciro Immobile and Federico Chiesa, they're players who if they can get quality services, and of course you can expect that from the likes of Verratti, they can hurt you. So I do believe this game will be won by who will dominate the middle of the pack. Interesting
you mentioned Chiesa. Chiesa was very instrumental. Let's briefly, as we wrap up, let's talk about the influence that Chiesa had on the game between Italy and Spain, because his performance was exemplary in that particular squad.
Chiesa, has been a youngster. He's been on the bench. He started the first two group stage games on the bench. He came on the third game, and it was sensational. He's a player who has pace. He can dribble. He knows where to place the ball. He knows where to make runs, and he's a very good finisher. So I do believe that is the reason as to why he's been starting, and he will. I'm certain he can hurt England in the final on Sunday.
Okay, so we are going to be following up that conversation, Ian Keitany. I think next week you're going to be having a different conversation altogether on who are going to be the champions of the Euros. Just before I let you go, I know you're a fan of the NBA, and the finals have already kicked off. That is Milwaukee Bucks versus the Phoenix Suns. What do you make of the games that are going to be played this weekend? Any surprises that you're expecting?
I do expect Milwaukee Bucks to, come back now that they'll be going home. They're 2-0 down after being on the road. Chris Paul, Devin Booker, and DeAndre Ayton have been so instrumental for the Phoenix Suns, and they do lead 2-0. But I do expect Bucks to come back and win the two games at home to ensure that the series is tied 2-2, and we can come back to Phoenix and see what can happen, because I really want to see Giannis Antetokounmpo winning the championship.
Okay, that's a conversation that you're going to be having on the show dedicatedly for the NBA playoffs. In case you're wondering which are some of the activities that you need to be following on this weekend, the following are some of the things that you need to be watching out for. In the Bathys Under-20 competition that is currently going on, Kenya is going to be squaring it out against Madagascar at the Nyayo National Stadium this coming weekend. Apart from that, in the Kenya Premier League, the following games are going to be on. That is KCB versus Tusker FC, who beat Gor Mahia 2-1 yesterday. Kakamega Homeboys is going to be playing against Mathare United. AFC Leopards versus the Costarians, so to speak. That is Bandari FC. Bidco United versus Sofapaka. And Eric Kapaito's side, that is Kariobangi Sharks, is going to be squaring it out against Vihiga United. As I mentioned, the NBA playoffs are going to be played this week and a better part of next week. That is Game 3 and Game 4. Game 3 is going to be played this weekend, and Game 4 is going to be played next week on Tuesday. Well, that's all the time that we had on Metropole Sports Center. Do wish you a fantastic weekend. See you next week. Same place, same time.